Who is Reacher Season 3's main villain? All three new enemies explained. Reacher Season 3 is set to be the most intense and exciting so far, introducing several new characters to pose even more threats to the Amazon Prime show's seemingly indestructible protagonist. Reacher Season 2 ended with the separation of many of the show's central characters, but given its anthology approach to storytelling, there's plenty of room for them to return for a new adventure in Season 3. The show is continually dragging Alan Ritchson's Jack Reacher into increasingly dangerous situations, and judging by everything that is known about the third season, that won't be changing anytime soon. The story of Reacher Season 3 will be loosely inspired by Lee Child's novel Persuader, which is one of the most popular and dynamic stories in the author's long-running franchise. The book sees Reacher infiltrate a dangerous drug operation and rescue an undercover police officer from those who are beginning to suspect his true identity. It's certainly one of Reacher's most dangerous tasks, but it's the perfect choice for the show's next season, as it introduces some of Child's most powerful and villainous characters that pose real threats to Reacher and other safety. Francis Xavier Quinn is one of Jack Reacher's most well-known adversaries, and he will make his on-screen debut in the TV adaptation's third season. In the books, Quinn is described as a physically imposing army colonel who became the subject of Reacher's investigations many years ago after selling weapons to enemy nations. His shared military history with Reacher and their complex dynamic will make him a formidable enemy in the show, particularly as the hero enters unknown territory and is forced to hide his true identity from those around him. Quinn first appears in Persuader, making it immediately clear that Reacher Season 3 will be sticking fairly closely to the narrative of this book. As there have been several instances in the show's history of introducing characters before or after their entry points in the source material, it's reassuring to die-hard fans to see that Quinn will hopefully be given the strong presence in this story that he deserves. Perhaps a downside, Persuader offers lower stakes for Reacher's third season, but figures like Quinn give it a much more interesting focus on character development. Ryan T., the actor cast as Quinn, is best known for playing Dr. Ethan Choi on Chicago Med and its multiple spin-offs, but the actor has also appeared in projects such as Jurassic World, The Wolverine, and The Fast and the Furious, Tokyo Drift, over the course of his career. Therefore, he's more than familiar with the cinematic world of action. T's physical stature and commanding screen presence make him a perfect candidate for Quinn, who poses a real threat to Reacher in the books and must replicate the same intimidation on screen. Zachary Beck is also one of the main antagonists of Child's Persuader novel and will seemingly play the same role in Reacher's third season. He's a powerful figure who's suspected by the D of smuggling drugs through his carpet-selling business, and Reacher is tasked with infiltrating his operation to find undeniable proof of his crimes. While his search doesn't immediately prove fruitful, it's this trail that first leads him to Quinn's scent and sets him on a quest for justice and vengeance. Beck turns out to be a much more complex and multidimensional character than most of Reacher's villains, and he's sure to make an interesting splash in the show's third season, especially in contrast to the other new on-screen antagonists. Lead actor Alan Ritchson has already praised it as by far the best season of the show, and much of that quality likely comes down to the complex dynamics between Reacher, Beck, and Quinn as this explosive narrative unfolds. Child's writing is at its best in novels like Persuader, which exemplifies just how interesting Reacher can be as a protagonist under the right circumstances. As fans gear up for Reacher Season 3, excitement surrounds the new threats that Jack Reacher, Alan Ritchson, will face in his relentless pursuit of justice. The first two seasons gave us a taste of Reacher's physical prowess, razor-sharp intellect, and unyielding moral code, but with Season 3 approaching, a new layer of complexity emerges. This time, Reacher will be up against not one but three formidable enemies, each offering unique challenges and pushing Reacher to his limits. These three villains promise to test not just his brawn, but also his wits and resilience. Let's dive into who these new adversaries are and how they will play pivotal roles in the upcoming season. 1. David O'Donnell, the mastermind with a personal vendetta. The first major villain of Reacher Season 3 is David O'Donnell, a former military intelligence officer who shares a history with Reacher. O'Donnell was once a trusted member of the same elite unit Reacher served in during his time in the military. However, their paths diverged after a mission gone wrong, leaving O'Donnell with a grudge. O'Donnell's intelligence and strategic thinking make him a perfect adversary for Reacher. Unlike the brute force villains of previous seasons, O'Donnell operates in the shadows, manipulating events from behind the scenes. His understanding of Reacher's tactics gives him an edge, and his personal vendetta adds a layer of psychological tension to the conflict. O'Donnell isn't just after money or power, he's out for revenge, seeking to dismantle Reacher's life piece by piece. His deep connection to Reacher's past will add emotional depth to the season, as Reacher must confront not only his old comrade, but also the decisions and events that led to their fallout. O'Donnell is a calculating villain who uses his intelligence as much as his resources to outmaneuver Reacher. Season 3 will likely explore the cat-and-mouse dynamic between the two, with O'Donnell pulling strings from behind the scenes and pushing Reacher to the edge. 2. Francis Neagley. The dark mirror of Reacher, Francis Neagley returns in Season 3, not as Reacher's ally, but as a more complicated antagonist. In previous seasons, Neagley was a trusted ally of Reacher, and like him, she is a former military police officer. However, circumstances lead her down a darker path in Season 3, positioning her as a morally ambiguous figure. Neagley's shift from ally to antagonist adds a compelling dynamic to the narrative. She represents a version of Reacher that has become disillusioned with the system. While Reacher operates with a strong sense of justice and a personal code of ethics, Neagley's outlook becomes more cynical and ruthless. She no longer believes in playing by the rules and has adopted a more extreme approach to righting wrongs. Her transformation into a darker figure makes her a dangerous foe, especially since she knows Reacher intimately, his strengths, weaknesses, and motivations. The tension between Reacher and Neagley will stem from their ideological differences. Both are skilled fighters and brilliant tacticians, but Neagley's moral flexibility will make her harder for Reacher to predict and counter. This dynamic offers a more emotionally complex villain than the typical physical threats Reacher faces, forcing him to question his own methods and beliefs. 3. Pavel Volkov, the ruthless crime lord. The third and final villain is Pavel Volkov, a powerful Eastern European crime lord who serves as the most overt threat in Reacher Season 3. Volkov runs an international crime syndicate involved in human trafficking, drugs, and arms smuggling. His criminal empire has connections to some of the most dangerous people in the world, making him a significant threat not only to Reacher, but to anyone who crosses his path. Volkov's brutality is his defining trait. Unlike O'Donnell's calculated methods or Neagley's moral ambiguity, Volkov is a force of nature, willing to crush anyone who stands in his way. His army of loyal enforcers and his vast network of corrupt officials make him a nearly untouchable figure. Volkov doesn't just want to stop Reacher, he wants to make an example of him, sending a clear message to anyone who would challenge his empire. Reacher will have to face Volkov in physical confrontations, as well as dismantle the infrastructure of his criminal enterprise. The stakes are high, with innocent lives hanging in the balance, and Volkov's willingness to use extreme violence will make every encounter between the two a deadly one. As a villain, Volkov embodies the kind of ruthless power Reacher is driven to oppose, and their clashes are sure to be explosive. Conclusion: 3 villains, 1 hero,